Hey, it's 42. This video will be kind of quick. And excuse me if if it goes around in circles. It doesn't have that many points that I want to touch on, so it might get out of order and then go backwards in a way. But I wanted to bring up why old media and new media are wrong and right about voting, because I think it's a perfect example of where this shouldn't be a bickering thing, because they're both right, they're both wrong, and I think they're both right and they're both wrong in areas where they ought to be able to admit that they're right or wrong. Excuse me, I'm taking notes right now because I don't want to do this twice. All right. So who should we start with? New media or old media? Let's ancestry it. Old media, and who's spearheading that is basically the new media whipping boy, paper tiger. I always use that word. I'm gonna stick with that. That's my thing. It's their it's and in a way he brought it on himself, because Roland Martin basically came out and he was like, "Hey, these new media people are telling you not to vote." Where he's right and he's wrong is, well, I'll deal with where he's right, because that perfectly illustrates what's wrong with new media and him, because he didn't really do it that strongly either. He's doing it from a more of a democratic platform instead of a black power platform, which really isn't doing it. But, and again, this is why it might seem like I'm jumping. New media complains, tells people not to vote. But, the realest thing, and the new media, I'm basically talking about Black Truth Forever, Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, what's his name? Dinah Samir. Some of the people, and other people are split. Like RBK might be kind of split on that. Other people might be split. But the general wave that I was seeing from people who are more new media-esque, they're saying that you shouldn't vote. And where they're right is a lot of the propped up candidates, which I'll get to, and for the most part, I think it's accurate to use Abrams and Gillum, Stacey Abrams and Andrew Gillum, as models of the typical black candidates that are promoted. They weren't offering anything specific to black people. So I don't disagree when people say don't vote for them specifically. But new media did not come from this from a point of view of anything but typical everyday black powerlessness. And I've said this before, if black men, and I'm not, I don't want to put this stereotype on black men pimping, but I've been around some pimps, and they'll get to talking about their hoes on the track. And I remember, I could use another analogy, because Sergeant Willie Pete did a video that had a couple football players. I know one was Ray Lewis. I don't remember who the other one was. It might have been Terrell Owens, but they were talking about their passion. I like football. I can get passionate about football. That passion, with the whole stereotype, with football, with whatever you do, it could be ice art, wedding singing, architecture. That passion for owning politics is not there. And because of that, the realest thing Tariq Nasheed ever said was, from the outside looking in, we are seen as one big nigga in terms of power. And he'll get maybe prideful, arrogant, and so will Jason Black. And they'll act like they are not part of the one big nigga failure to present any type of black power candidates or move the needle initiatives. They failed to do that. So if they're failing to do that, then why are they telling us anything about voting? Because what they should be doing is saying vote for this, not don't vote. The fact that you're telling people not to vote is a symbol of your failure. Because the reality is, it's not that difficult to at least assist or identify with something on the ballot that does move the needle, at least for the quality of life of Black people. For Black Power, that's a different story. That's another leg up. But I did that. I wasn't heavy involved, but I pushed a little bit of money. I signed petitions. I put a video out on a law in Washington State where police officers could no longer use their own impression of malice. It was nicknamed the Malice Clause, but there's actually more to it than that. Washington State never prosecuted police officers because it was written in law that as long as a shooting wasn't done in malice, with a deprived heart, and all the cop has to do is say, "Look, I feared for my life," and if they say that, then they're clear. That's all they really have to say in this state. The wording of that law and who investigates it were changed. There was also a change specific for people in a tribe, and that's another reason why I think, why I bring up reparations so much, because Native Americans have laws that are specific to them as a people. And in this case, it says I could read the entire law, but you could look it up, and you could look up malice law. It passed overwhelmingly. And you could go look at some of my old videos. Let me see. I want to pull it up. You can look it up at some of my old videos, and I talk about this law. Let's see. Yeah, like 2 years ago, because it doesn't happen automatically. I have a video. Andre Taylor speaks about People's Initiative 873. That law didn't go through, but it led to the law that struck down the whole malice thing. And also it sets up a different investigation. Police can investigate themselves. Now, I'm not saying that with the power of the police unions, they still can't get around this. It's just going to be harder, and the bullshit would have to be easier. It would be easier to catch some of the bullshit. That's the best way to say it, because they'd have to go around so many things. Not saying it can't happen, but that's how it goes right there. So that's where new media is wrong. They're not proposing anything, and if I can do it, then damn sure Jason Black can do it. And I'm not saying he doesn't do it. It's just because a lot of these videos I haven't seen, but when you lead with like Professor Black Truth talking about voting in fear and just talking shit about voting, it shows me that you're more concerned, like if I use a pimp analogy, you're more concerned with the game than your ability to win the game, because you don't have an initiative to talk about. You don't have a candidate that you funded. You don't have a candidate that has made a personal commitment to you. So why are you talking? You're just the powerless big Negro, that Tariq Nasheed talks about, and he does it too. So that's where they're wrong. I think they should just shut up, because they're speaking from a point of view of powerlessness, because they don't have a candidate. They don't have an initiative. Me 2 years ago, and even this year, I didn't really talk about it this year, but it was already in motion. It was already on the ballot, and it was already popular. I didn't have to talk about it. Hell, I didn't even have to vote. I could just put my feet up and, okay, we won a little victory. It's not Black Power's meta, to be sure. I don't put anything involving police in Black Power's meta. I put reparations up there, at least when it comes to politics, and also family laws when it comes to politics. Those two things when it comes to politics. And there are other things, but not many. There's a couple other things. But when it comes to politics, those two things, you could also maybe throw in ownership of the media, are key for people classified as Black, because where those things fail, and I would say where our religious institutions fail, which should be the beacon and hub of creating profitable for-profit businesses and sparking the economy, in ways that would help you flip the resources you were to get for reparations. So all of this works hand in hand. Watch my video, Black Power is Meta. If you want to know how Black people can be powerful, follow those steps. It has to be simple. There has to be a few major victories. Reparations is one of those victories. And this is where new media, or old media, I should say, gets it wrong. And I'm going to use, like I said, Gillum and Abrams as an example. Neither one of them talked about reparations. Matter of fact, both of them ran from the topic. Because when DeSantis, who was running against Gillum, or somebody from his group, they say that Gillum was about getting reparations, and then they'll put extra on it. It's always something extra. And that reveals the BS, that reparations for revenge against YT, like he was militant about it. And that's one of the things, like when I talk about reparations, it's not, of course, for revenge. And when you argue for reparations, you do not blame white people. There's no reason to blame white people. That ends up being, like, a lot of the reparations is an easy argument. That's why a lot of the game to argue against reparations is to shame and demonize, but not to deal with it straight up. Because if you deal with it straight up, then there's no way that you can be the league leader in the standings of human rights violations. Yet when it comes to any sort of financial justice, you're dead last in the standings. You can't get around that. And a lot of times the people who want you to get around that will then argue that racism doesn't exist and you're not a second-class citizen. Well, how can I not be a second-class citizen when I can show you that white people have gotten stimulus and reparations? Because when we repair capitalism, it's damn near all going to white people. And this is during a time when the safety net was segregated. So we were paying taxes to support poor white people. We were paying taxes to invest in middle-class white people, and we were paying taxes to maintain white supremacy with rich white people. That's a class system. When that was segregated for as long as it was, and even now it's segregated because the wealth is already segregated, when you have these stimulus packages that repair capitalism, it's mostly going to people classified as white. That's how white supremacy is maintained. Now, you're still paying taxes, especially if you're just new on the come up and your money is starting to get good. It's like, oh, roll it back a little bit. Let us wet our beaks so we may maintain. And they'll come up with stuff like that. And it's always stuff that only applies to people classified as black, because if you were going to be even-handed, if animals get reparations for things that people do in nature, if Native Americans, Japanese, white people who practice Judaism, Western Europe after the war, and then you have these stimulus packages during American expansion. And if that happens, then the people who are getting sabotaged, with Cincinnati getting burnt down, like a good black neighborhood here, a good black neighborhood there. We didn't have a whole ton of black neighborhoods. We basically had to be pure capitalists, lump it by ourselves, and then some when it comes to sabotage and our success getting burnt down. If we aren't to get reparations in the reparations capital of the world, then I got a problem. And I really have a problem when Gillum ran away from it instead of saying, hey, making that same argument I just made and say, hey, yes, I am in favor of reparations. This is why. If he says that, then it shuts down new media's argument. It shuts down this notion that you're a Democrat first and you're Black Power second. It shuts it down. All he has to do is make that argument. The same argument I just made, he makes that. It shuts all that madness down. It's already a racially charged atmosphere. I mean, did DeSantis literally call him a monkey, or was it a dog whistle? Was it a big dog? Who gives a fuck? The reality is, you can just look at the comments under videos and all that. It's already racially charged, so you might as well be about Black Power, because you're already in Florida, where all the anti-Hispanic stuff coming out of the Republican Party, and you're barely getting 52% of the Hispanic vote. Like you're barely getting the majority of the Hispanic vote. And then you also have, and oh, let me, before I get into the cheating, let me mention again where old media gets it wrong. You had the whole thing about your ancestors and vote shaming and all that. And Tariq Nasheed responded to someone where Stacey Abrams was in on the tweet. Like she was mentioned on the tweet, and he talked about, hey, you candidates are not offering black people anything tangible, so you have no right to shame us for not voting. He's absolutely right in saying that. But worse than that, he showed that Abrams or her people deleted the tweet. All they had to do was say, hey, we're in favor of blah, blah, blah. I would prefer it be something that moves the needle for black power. And we're in favor of changing family laws so black men aren't, a wave of garnishment. So sisters aren't relying on a goddamn child support check, because these laws were put in place right after the safety net was desegregated. These are low-key bigoted laws that came from both parties, even though the Democratic Party is the one that gets the blame, but it is what it is. That, she could have mentioned that, but I mean, what really would have shut up, literally shut Tariq Nasheed. Now, worse than, he would have been like, I'm sorry, ma'am, if she would have said, I'm in favor of reparations, nigga. All she had to do was say that. All she had to do was say she is in favor of allocating resources to the people who have received more human rights violations. And in that sense, I'm in favor of there being one class of citizen. No, she didn't. She deleted the tweet. Or at least that's what he said. But I looked up her stance on reparations. I looked up Abrams, Gillum's stance on reparations. I looked them both up, and none of them are coming out and saying, hey, we're in favor of reparations. And in 2018, that's bitch shit. That's coward shit. Fuck them both. I don't give a damn if they won or lost. And that's where I agree with new black media. And one other thing I wanted to mention about the cheating and stuff. It's just like, it's going to be racially charged regardless. You're going to be accused of cheating. Instead of all this intersectionality with Latinos, who you can only get 52% of their vote in the age of Trump, instead of that intersectionality, with feminists who will sit back while they push policies and make it impossible for your neighborhoods to build as a collective, for people to pool money, instead of intersectionality with conservatives who will send Candace Owens out there talking about you should leave the Democratic Party. And then when you ask her what for, she jumps up in the air, falls down, and screams, I'm a victim. Instead of that type of intersectionality, maybe you should hook up with some hackers. Because my whole thing is, if you are really going about it the right way and you really are about black power moves, then win, 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 win. Curve everything else. Win, 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 win. Intersect with some hackers. You're going to get accused of it. You're going, when they catch you on some bullshit, like you vote on an absentee ballot late, you get punished worse than you should anyway. If you're going to get it, then curve everything else. Get with some hackers. Win, 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 win. So that's my thing. That's where new media and old media are right and wrong about voting. Old media is correct. It does come down to the little ones. You know what I mean? And they probably both agree on that. So it would be nice I would like to see a debate, Tariq and Roland Martin, because what it would expose is that we don't have a political agenda. And that's on all of us. Whether you call yourself new or old, you're still the political agenda-less black media. And if there's some attention gazed upon that, then it's a beautiful thing. And one thing I want to throw in pretty quick, I could do it in one take. I have to add this, is I hear people frequently say that we need our own party. I disagree with that, because we already have a party that's about black power. That's the Green Party. They are in favor of reparations. They've ran a candidate who can speak on that. So you have a Black Power Meta candidate who gets some support from new media. So, and I'm talking about Ajamu. I'm cool with Ajamu for president, but the Green Party isn't going to win. You're not going to get it that easy. Like certain things are easier than we make them out to be. Creating a party that actually pushes the other parties is not easy to do because you already have that leverage in the Green Party, but you're not going out saying, we're going to Blexit Green, we're going to Blexit Green. This is a party that's about reparations, but you're saying Blexit Republican, which actually makes more sense because Republicans can win. It's just Republicans haven't offered a damn thing. Their platform isn't worth a damn thing in terms of black power, so there's no reason to vote Republican. But there is some, or as much pressure put on them. You don't vote Republican, you buy Republican. Like another analogy that I use, and I'll go after this, is let's say stealing wasn't bad. Like stealing was a good thing. Just hypothetical. Let's just say it's in your culture where you just jack somebody for stuff. And that's, it's how good of a jack move you are. That's how successful you are. Let's take the stigma off just hypothetically. I'm not a thief. I don't believe in stealing. So just hypothetically, where African Americans are now, if we were to say, okay, we're going to be the best thieves, an analogy to that would be how we vote. Because it's like voting, it's like robbing the poor. If you want to be a great thief, it's good practice. So I wouldn't tell anybody not to do it if we're in a world where thieving is chivalrous. If thieving is a great thing, it's the only way to come up. And a lot of people say that's how the world is. You just got to be smooth about it. But hypothetically, that's the issue, is you don't vote, you buy. You have to have real candidates, and it's better to have control over the existing parties that are actually winning than to just, okay, you start up a new party. You have a party that's in favor of reparations. They get a little bit more votes than the Green Party. You're still where you are before. Now, you could say that might pressure the Democratic Party into actually coming with something. I think there's some truth to that. But the thing is, you could do that just by Blexiting Green anyway, or not voting. And that's the case for not voting right there, is it puts the pressure on the parties to say, hey, you got to do something more than that. Now, the thing is, though, you have up and down the ballot issues. So I ultimately agree with both positions, except that I don't think New Media has any grounds to talk because they aren't pushing any candidates. They should be saying, go out and vote. But they should also be saying, hey, you see Abrams offering nothing, Gillum offering nothing. Don't vote for them. But we've maneuvered this candidate right here. We have this candidate who is about our agenda. I would say the agenda should be what's in Black Power's meta. It's simple. It's only 4 things that really move the needle cold. Because if left to our own devices, it's going to be like 30 things, 40 things. We'll throw in colorism and being able to beatbox. We'll just throw in all sorts of stuff. So that's it.